Hey folks, this is Intro to Cinema 4D, part 1.2. We're going to talk about materials and textures for our snow person figure thing that we're working on. All right, just gonna pause for a second and get these controls out of the way and we'll get started. Okay, so here we are. We are working with our model, our snow figure, and we need to get some snow in the scene, don't we? All right, right now, if we render this out, it's black and white. So actually, the first thing I want to do is just add in an easy way of doing lighting, especially when we're working outdoors, and that is something called a physical sky. So up here, you'll find this menu with just a floor. It's not a very good icon to introduce what's here, but if you click and hold this down, there are some sky, environment, foreground, background, stage, some things like that. And this one, physical sky, we're gonna bring it in. So automatically what this is gonna do is give you a sun object, sky coloring, light and shadow. So if we render this now, you can see that I've got some lighting going on. Okay, so already this is starting to look a ton better than just that simple viewport rendering that we were doing. Okay, so what we want to do is create a new material. So down here we have the materials palette. I'm going to click create materials. In this case, just a standard material. All right. So I'm going to double click this material and it's going to pop up a material editor. All right. We have a variety of different things we can do to a material. It's fun to click these things and just play around and see what they can do. I recommend it. For now, though, we're going to click on color first. And we're gonna make this, well, you can make it any color you want. You can have a yellow snowman if you like. I'm gonna make it white, pure white, okay? And then on reflectance, I'm gonna add some reflectance too. Specular is sort of a default. It's not reflective, like you can see your reflection in a mirror, but it just gives you a little bit of a sheen of the object. So notice on this black sphere, you can see that little bit of sheen, right? The default is just fine. I want to add a little bit more reflection, and here what we want to do is add a layer of reflection. All right, so click add, and then just choose one of these, reflection legacy, any of these sort of things. I like this GGX one, so I'm going to choose this one. And what I want to do with this is the snow does not look like a marble, right, or reflective marble. So I'm going to increase the roughness of this. I'm going to bring this up to 50%, maybe even a little bit more. Okay. Maybe even a little bit more. It's just real trial and error. I'm going to try 70. Okay, and that's all I'm going to do for right now. Actually, I may take this the layer. You can control the percentages here between them. So I think I'm just going to make this like 50%. All right, we'll try this out. So I've got my color. I've got my reflectance. And the last thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of a bump. So I want the snow to look slightly bumpy, okay? As you can imagine, the snow is made up of tiny little pieces of ice all compressed together. So if any one of these are, you can control these things without actually having the button checked, right? So you want to make sure that you have the button checked. So I'm on bump. I'm going to make sure it's checked on. I'm going to go to texture and add a little bit of a bump texture, okay? So this is kind of like, if you think about a black and white surface texture, like snake scales or something, right? If you had a black and white image of that, you could use it as a texture and it would apply itself to your object. So what I'm going to do here is just go down to noise. Noise is a default seamless texture that you can use and change and manipulate in a lot of different ways, and there's many options here. So the default noise is going to be way too big. Those cells are way too big. So I'm just going to double click that icon to come up with this menu. And again, here we see something called seed, right? Remember we talked about that before with the landscape. And I'm just the default is 665. I don't know why. I'm just going to pick something else, like 34. Okay, I always change that. The other thing I want to do is this scale is way too big. So I don't want this that to look like that. So what I want to do is take the global scale and ramp this down to maybe only like 5. Let's see what that does. Right, so I get this speckling kind of dot pattern a little bit more, which is good. And then I think what I want to do is make it a bit more contrasty. So there's a low clip at 0 and high clip at 100. I can also go brightness and contrast. Let's try that first. So do brightness, too bright. Something like that is probably a little bit better, right? So this is going to be maybe a little bit less speckly across the surface, right? So let's see what that looks like. Now I'm going to close this out. You don't have to there's no save here. You just close it out when you're done working on it. And then in order to make this onto the snow figure, a couple different ways, right? I can click and hold this down and drag it like onto the base, let's say, and then it will apply it there. And I can do that again to the mid and again to the head. I can also, if I need to get very specific, I can drag it all the way over here and I can put it like on the landscape, right? And that's a way that we can start to work with this as well. So when we do that, we get a bit of a preview, but we have to always go to the render view to see what it's really gonna look like. So we click that and see. And not too bad, you know, kind of speckly. I like that. It looks snowy. All right, so I'm going to stick with that for now. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is, you know, actually, what I want to do with this is make it's too round, right? So what I want to do here is add a little bit of displacement. Let's talk about that. I'm going to open this back up. I've got my color, I've got my reflectance, and I've got my bump. I'm going to click here for displacement. All right. And with this, we have two different types of displacement. We'll just use this intensely centered type right now. We'll go to texture and load another noise, okay? And actually, I don't mind this one being like that. I might change it a little bit here for a different shape. I like the scale, but you see this is looking more snowball-like, right? So I'm gonna put this, oh, it's already on there, right? Because I've already changed it. So let's just do that and see what this looks like. And not much has changed. So in order for us to get this to really work, we have to alter our models, right? And to do this, we want to be sure we have what we want in terms of the placement and everything, because we're going to eliminate the ability to do this object properties in the parametric menu. So what we want to do for this is click this button over here, which is the Make Editable button, okay? So on all of these, you'll see what happens. Here we have the parametric object, right, the sphere, but here we have a just polygon object, right? So now we can access a bit more of the DNA of these models. So actually I'll select these two. When they're both selected, it make editable. And now let's see what that displacement did for us. Oh my goodness, it's way too displacey. Definitely bumpy, but that's not what we want. Double click this, all right? Let's go into our displacement again. Strength is way too high. Height is way too high. So let's make this 5 and let's make the percentage like, I don't know, 20. See what that does for us, okay? And let's render that out. There's gonna be a lot of trial and error here, pushing buttons and seeing what happens and going back for a little bit bumpy, but not enough. Let's ramp up to 40. Let's see what that does for us. Render it out. Okay, you're getting closer. Yeah, I don't mind this so much. I think it's looking pretty good. Could probably go a little bit taller with the displacement. So from 5, I'm going to go to 7. 40% is still good. One more try, 3 times the charm. Let's see what we got. I like it. I can live with that. Okay. Okay, next we're going to make a bit of a carrot nose. Create a new material. Standard material. Double click this. We want our color to be orange, right? Just gonna click these things. You can always put in coordinates if you want to. Reflectance is fine. It doesn't need to be reflective. We want some bump though. So I'm gonna click on bump. And here I'm gonna choose something different. I'm actually gonna do a surface. So instead of noise right here that we normally do, I'm gonna go down to surfaces. I'm gonna try water, okay? I like this surface. That does not look like a carrot yet, but what I want to do here is double click this, make it more bright, okay? Something like that. Maybe bring this down a little bit. I don't know. Bring this in the middle there. There we go. Okay. Now I want the frequency. I want this to be 0.5. I want this to be much greater, like 5. Let's see what that does. See the striations? I want that kind of striated quality of the carrot. Well, let's see if this is going to look like. I'm just going to put this right on the carrot nose. And we're going to have to zoom in to really see how we've done and render this. Here we go. Let's check it out. Too dark, so we're definitely going to change the strength. So let's make the strength actually negative instead of positive. Let's try -3 and see what we get here. Now, you can also go to render and do render active object. That's only the caret will render now. Because, no, see, I had that snowman head connected, so that didn't work. I click on the cone and do it, render active objects, and we'll just see the caret. So that looks better, looks carety to me, okay? Okay, so we have the caret texture, and the last thing is we're gonna make these little coal eyes here. So why don't we go ahead and create a new material, standard material, same sort of process. We'll go color, make it a bit of a gray, maybe a bit of a, I don't know, kind of a brownish gray, like that, okay? And then we don't, reflectance is just fine. And then we'll do some, let's do some displacement. So here we'll do a different type of texture. Let's try noise again, and then double click on the icon or click it once, and then under noise, you can click on this little arrow next to the tab and see all these different icons that we can choose. So I think for this, what I want is something, I don't know, maybe something displaced, make it look kind of bumpy. Let's try this displaced Vorundi. Voroni. All right, and let's see what this looks like. Click on displacement again. I don't think 100% is what we want. I kind of want it to be indented a little bit, so I'll do like negative, I don't know. We'll try -22 first, and maybe only 5 for the height. We'll place this on each one of the eyes and just take a look at the rendering and see what we come up with here. Another way you can render is actually you can do render, and then render region is kind of cool because you just draw over where you want it to render and then take a look at it. See what we get. Boy, I forgot something. Do you remember? I remember. Click on both of these eyes over here and make them editable. Let's try that again. Render region. Select the area, see what we get. All right, pretty good. I feel like maybe not bumpy enough. So let's do -44 and look at that render region. See how we do. All right, I'm liking that. They're protruding out a little too far. So I'm gonna select both of these. Okay, and then grab my move tool right here and bring them in a little bit. Oh, that's not in. The Z is in. There we go. Bring them in a little bit, and let's zoom out and just render the whole scene, see what we look like all together. Maybe we've got it. We've got some sparkly, gritty snow. We've got some bumpy looking rock eyes. We've got a carroty kind of a nose. I think we're good. So from here, what I'm going to do is zoom out. I'm going to rotate a little bit to get the perspective that I want, kind of looking up a little bit, showing the kind of hunkered face a bit of the snowman. Do one final render to take a look. And then the next video, we're going to talk about adding a few objects from the content browser and doing a final render as a JPEG that you can upload to complete your assignment. So here's our snow figure so far. And the next video, we'll go into a little bit more details and talk about final rendering. See you then.